Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the Windy City Breakdown. Tony Andracki here, joined as always by Andy Martínez and Kyle Millinowisch. And guys, the Cubs are good again. It's it seems like a week to week type of endeavor right now. I mean, just simply we're recording this on Tuesday morning. They walked it off for the 10th time, believe it or not, the 10th time this year. A Monday night, Andy, you were at Wrigley Monday night. They won the series against the Brewers over the weekend. They swept the Mets on the road last week. So I ask you guys, are the Cubs back?
I think they're back to like you feel like they're a better chance of making the playoffs team, but I don't think they're like
Kyle, why are you
they're not-
laughing?
Because I was going to say, fuck yeah, they're back.
I mean, I don't see how they're not back, but leave it to Andy to be like, maybe they're back.
Like they're still 5.5 games out of the division, right?
Yeah.
And Milwaukee has played 3 fewer games. So like I like look at it at the lens of like the goal was to win the division, right? This year, like there was no mincing words, and there was every real possibility that they were going to do that. There's every real possibility that they were going to be a team that could make a deep playoff run. And like, are they back to like they're probably in the playoffs? Yes, right. Like a couple weeks ago, it was like, oh, is this even a playoff team? And now it's like clearly they're trending towards. I think Fangraphs had them at 70% to make the playoffs. Like they're trending to being back in the playoffs. But I'm still like even watching the game on Monday, being there. Like Shota Imanaga had one of the best performances he's had in a while. Right, 6 1/3 innings, 2 runs, 9 hits. Really solid appearance, but like if he's doing that the rest of the season, that's great. But as we've talked about, what's the rest of the pitching staff, right? Like since we last recorded, Ben Braun's gone down. I don't think he's coming back this year, right? The neck thing that he had 2 years ago, he missed the rest of the season. Like I wouldn't count on him coming back. Jameson Taillon was great in the postseason last year, but he's been the inconsistencies make me wonder like what he would be. Matthew Boyd, he's obviously coming back, and we'll see what happens. But like they are set up to like maybe they could win that wild card round again. But like until the trade deadline, until moves happen, like this team just isn't pitching wise deep enough to sustain a run that can go even beyond the DS, maybe even past the wild card.
Do you think there would be another pitching move on the horizon after the David Peterson acquisition?
So that was Bruce Levine actually bluntly asked Craig. He's like, "Do you expect another move coming soon from Craig or from Carter and Jed?" And Craig literally just said no. Like, there's nothing coming. Like this is, I think there's 20 something days, or 20 something games.
That's also like the managers. Like that's like the manager's mindset, and specifically Craig, right? And like Andy, you know,
Sure,
this 'cause you've been around these guys. Like that is very much what the manager's mindset should be, and I commend Craig for this because I think he does this better than anybody I've been around, including even like Joe Madden and David Ross and stuff. I feel like Counsell is just so good at operating with what is in front of him and not trying to get so caught up with what could be coming. Like,
sure.
Oh, like you said there's 30 games or whatever it is until the trade deadline, or less than that, right? 24 games ish. But like he's not worried about what the Cubs are going to do. He's worried about Bryse Wilson and David Peterson are the only acquisitions possibly, and Drew Pomeranz on a minor league deal, like, and on all these other guys we've never heard of because there's been a bunch of moves even since they traded for David Peterson. Like he's so focused on that he's not worried about like what else is coming. So I get that, but I'd be curious what Jed's answer would be. Not like if a media person asked it, but if somebody asked him like off the record behind closed doors, is there another move imminent? I'd be super curious what he would say.
Yeah, I am too, and I still think like just given where like I think the Mets one just like made sense for both teams, right? Where it's like the Mets have a couple guys coming off the IL. David Peterson was in this weird world where like he was not in the rotation anymore, and they like he was just surplus, right? He's a free agent at the end of the year as a team that's very, very likely to not be a playoff or a buyer, let alone a playoff team. So it made sense to move him, and the Cubs were desperate. Like there's so much parity in the league that you don't know who's buying, who's selling, and teams don't want to commit one way or the other at this point, because if you do that, like you don't want to punt on the season, with essentially half of the season left, right? Like as we've seen, you can go on a little run here, especially in the American League. You can go on a little run and suddenly you're in the playoff mix, right? Like I don't think it's going to happen, but like what if Detroit rips off 7 or 8 in a row? Like they're suddenly really right back in the playoff mix. Like they're not letting go of Skubal, they're not letting go of other pieces. Like they're firmly in it. So like you don't want to commit one way or the other yet, and that kind of just limits the avenues that the Cubs can make trading wise outside of like guys who get DFA'd or guys who get put on the waivers, like we saw with Pomerantz and Bryse Wilson.
Kyle, I mean, what do you think? We asked Andy, right, and whether the Cubs are back or not, and he had obviously a very like nuanced answer. We were laughing at the beginning, but like his point, I think, and not to put words in your mouth, Andy, right, is like they might be back now, but will they maintain this? And and that's the big question.
Yeah, right. Like, and I know we've harped on it before, but it's who are these Cubs? 2 10-game winning streaks, a 10-game losing streak, a prolonged month-plus stretch of the offense being absolute shit. Like, yeah, it's been great the last, since the Blue Jay series, roughly, if not a little, maybe the Rocky series at home.
Yeah.
But like, you can't ignore that prolonged stretch there. But I mean, you look at the way PCA is hitting right now, especially in the month of June. I mean, just looking at his, to me, the biggest thing is his, and it's kind of a roundabout answer here, but like he's the class catalyst. He's the straw that stirs the non-slump drink. But as he goes, the Cubs are going. He has a 471 on base in June, which is just outrageous.
That's insane.
What was the stat that he had? So he had 29 walks all of last season, and I don't know how many he has this season, but he has
36-ish, 37-ish already.
He has 16 in June. He has 16.
He has 38 walks in this year,
and he has 16 this month. So it's just like his approach at the plate is just phenomenal. So, and you get like as he's gotten hot, it's seemingly like the offense as a whole has gotten hot. Yeah, he's 10 home runs helps, 8 stolen bases helps, the 16 walks help. But what I'm getting at is if he can keep up somewhat of this pace, yeah, he's not going to hit 386, have an OPS of 1.243 the rest of the season. But if it's anywhere in that range, yeah, I think the Cubs are in a decent spot. There's guys in the lineup that need to pick it up, i.e. Alex Bregman and others. But yeah, I think it's at least signs of progression here. The pitching is, as we just mentioned, worrisome. But overall, I mean, it's compared to where they were on how we were talking about the Cubs on May 30th, how we're talking about them now on June 30th is like night and day, is it not?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the pitching is going to be the biggest question. You're right.
Like, you
delayed Tony.
Delayed Tony.
Yeah.
That was totally
ahead,
delayed
Andy.
Tony.
You got it.
You raise your hand real quick. I'm kidding. Yeah, the pitching's the biggest question, just because if you think about it, like there's always like I feel like a good majority of pitchers when they first like get to the major leagues, and I'm talking more like some of these guys who have been designated for assignments or the fresh looks, and not the first time call-ups, like they have some success, right? Because the league is like, you haven't seen them, right? And there's a little bit of adjustment, but once the league kind of figures you out, like that's where the adjustment happens, right? And you kind of see it all the time. Like I think a great example was like Chris Flexen last year, right? He had it was like 13, 14 appearances in a row where he hadn't given up a run, and then the league kind of figured him out, and it spiraled really quickly, really fast. And that's what I'm curious with some of these relievers, right? Who have been like, I think Rollison and Thornton are probably like the two biggest, like, okay, they're probably like of the wire, like they're like the safer bets. Like this is kind of who they are. Like they might have some blips here on the radar, but you kind of have a good idea of who they are. Like I'm curious with some of these other guys, like Bryse Wilson had a really good appearance, but like, he's designated for assignment because something wasn't working. And sure, something could click with the Cubs and something could figure it out. But like if the league figures them out and the adjustment comes, like, all right, well, what's next for the Cubs? And as we've seen, like Christian Bethancourt at AAA pitched 2 innings and was topping off at 90 miles an hour because their pitching depth is so thin, right? Like they are so thin that like you just don't have enough pitching. And that's what worries me is like, well, if the offense comes around, like you still need the pitching to perform well. If you're doing well offensively, it doesn't matter if it's doing well, because if the pitching is struggling, like it negates it all.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. It's
what
was the tweet? I'd have to find. Sorry, Tony. I know you're on the 13-second delay here.
You're good.
There was a tweet. It was like all of the people who are all the Cubs pitchers who are on the IL, and it legitimately made up like a great
pretty good pitching staff.
Yeah, I mean, think of like the opening day rotation or just the opening day pitching staff. Steele's not on it, but Cade Horton, Ben Brown, Jamison Tyone, Edward Cabrera, Palencia, Hunter Harvey. Is Maytone on the IL right now?
Yep, he is on the IL. Yep.
Right, and Hobie Milner, like it's insane. I mean, Hobie Milner with the appendectomy is a random and strange one, but at the same time, it's like, what the hell? Like they can't. They're just everybody's getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't I've never seen anything like this. It's crazy. And I mean, I know on the recent road trip, Jed and some of the other guys like talked to the media that was there and was saying the same thing, that they don't recall anything quite like this. I can't believe it. Like I feel like, oh man, they've had so many injuries, and then a stretch like the past week happens where it's like every single day there's one or two guys that are being put on the IL, and like Matt Shaw also randomly hurt his wrist. I still don't even know how he hurt it specifically. I just know he came out of the game on Sunday, and then it goes on the IL Monday. But it's like every day there's a roster move, and it's like Gavin Holloway has gone down to the minors 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks, and has stayed there for like a day or two and immediately comes right back up. Like it's pretty crazy like how this has happened. Poor Vince Velasquez hasn't given up a run, and yet he continues to get DFA'd because they just need guys with options that they can like move up and down. Like it has been unreal. I cannot believe it. But it is kind of funny that like, then they find guys like David Peterson, Bryse Wilson, who look like saviors against the Brewers on Saturday and Sunday, right? Like Bryse Wilson was a guy who hit the best year of his career, came with Counsell in Milwaukee was that 23?
I think so.
Counsell's
Yeah,
last year there. And David Peterson's a guy who was an all-star last year, believe it or not. Like he had a good first half with the Mets, and he's a guy that we've heard a bunch. I'm sure anybody who's followed the Cubs closely has heard this about Peterson, that he puts the ball on the ground about as much as anybody in baseball. When you have the best infield defense in baseball, maybe the best defense overall, you want a guy like Peterson. But what's funny about that is like he does put the ball on the ground a lot. He also averages about a strikeout an inning throughout his career. Like he gets some swings and misses too. So I actually feel like I jokingly, put up the topic bar for those of you watching that video of David Peterson, Bryse Wilson are the saviors. Like they're not, but I actually feel like Peterson could be like really, really good with the Cubs. Like potentially what we saw at the beginning of last year, where he was an all-star caliber pitcher at the Mets. Like I don't see any reason why he can't do that again, pitching in front of this really good defense on a team that has shown that they can get the most out of pitchers in the past. Like I don't see why Peterson can't be a very good pitcher for them the next 3 months of the year.
I was gonna say like I don't think it's a stretch to call him a savior, just in the sense of like he's gonna eat innings. Like I think that
Yeah.
is that's a big way to save this pitching staff, right? Like they just need guys who are gonna pitch innings, and yeah, it's not the savior in terms of like it's not Tarek Skubal or it's not Joe Ryan, but it's a savior in terms of like, hey, he's bridging the gap, right? Like you don't have to do two bullpen games in a 5-man rotation, right? Like you're getting a guy who theoretically is going to give you 5 innings every time, and I think the numbers are going to improve, like you said, Tony, being with an elite defense compared to the Mets defense was horrible defending, horrible defending against the Cubs. There was just a terrible defensive team. So I think
enough to get a manager fired.
Yeah, I think just on that alone, there's going to be improvement from David Peterson. But like, I think it's maybe it's like a slight exaggeration, but I think he's a savior in the sense of like he's gonna give this Cubs team innings, which is, I think right now they're not really looking for like, oh, we need Tarek Skubal or Joe Ryan, or oh, we need like an elite back end reliever right now. Like they just need bodies, right? Like they just need bodies. They're not really too picky about what it's going to be. If the guy's going to give you 5 innings every 5th day, that's a huge win for that's where the Cubs pitching staff is.
Well, you're right. And like the other alternatives, I mean, besides like any of the three of us going out there and pitching for them, are like Jordan Wicks, or Vince Velasquez. Velasquez is 34, 35, hasn't pitched much in the big leagues the last like 4 or 5 years. And again, he was solid the couple times that he got up, but Jordan Wicks, he got 3 big outs, huge outs on Sunday in Milwaukee, but his starts this year have been really rough. In not
Right.
even in just in the big leagues, in AAA, he has had some really rough numbers as well. That like you can't just roll out there and a guy like Jordan Wicks, the way he's been performing this year, every 5th day, and expect, as you said, to even go 5 innings, but you can't expect to like win those games consistently and still be a playoff team. Like you need guys like Colin Ray and David Peterson and Javier Assad. And like it's crazy that they basically have an entire rotation of that right now, right? Like they have 3, at least 3 guys who are just like sort of afterthoughts, or guys who have been banished to the bullpen at some point over this season, really even. And Matthew Boyd's still working his way back. And as you said at the beginning, Andy, like Shota is just, we don't know what to expect from Shota on a day-to-day basis, start-to-start basis. Like he can be a potential Cy Young candidate, and he can also be like a guy that gives up 4 homers in an outing, and that's not a surprise. So a guy like Peterson's huge. A guy like Bryse Wilson in the pen to give you some length, and has had success in the big leagues before. Like, it's old scouting adage that I remember bringing up Madden for the second time in this pod, but Joe Madden always used to say, like, the scouting adage of is if a guy showed you it once before, he's capable of that. Like, if a guy hits 10 home runs in a month like PCA, he's capable of doing that whenever throughout his career. Bryse Wilson had like a sub 2 ERA in 2023 with the Brewers.
Yeah.
He's capable of doing that again.
Yeah, to that point, I remember Counsell saying last year when Brad Keller, in spring training when he had been signed, and his first outing he's throwing like 99 or whatever it was, and it's like, well, like, do you think he could be a major league pitcher? It was like essentially like the question he was asked in spring training, and Counsell said something similar to that effect, where it's like he's done it in the past, right? Like, he was a really good, so that is in there. It's just like, is it as a starter? Is it as a reliever? Because at that point, like, they weren't sure what he was going to be, and that is true. Like, David Peterson, former first round pick, like he wasn't drafted in the first round just like because they clearly something was there that they believe in his talent, and maybe that gets brought out with the Cubs. We've seen it plenty of times where a guy gets to change the scenery and maybe things start clicking. So like maybe that is what happens with Peterson and maybe even Bryse Wilson, who I believe he was also a first round pick too. He was a former top prospect. I remember that at least.
I just had his page pulled up. Let me see. I was wrong. He didn't have a sub 2 ERA in 2023. He had a 2.58 ERA, which is pretty good.
Still pretty good. Still pretty darn good.
And he was a 4th round pick in 2016 by the Braves. Bryse Wilson was.
Idiot.
Bryse Wilson, by the way, big head. I think he and Andy have a similar size head.
Yeah, it's funny. I was going to say he looks like he'd be the perfect 12-inch softball player.
He does. Yes, he does.
He might be.
Like, he was just hitting nukes
across his beers.
Yeah.
I think Sam Bernero took the picture of him walking in, and I was like, holy fuck, look at this guy. I want to play with him. Perfect build. He probably just hits ropes, chugs beers, throws 94.
Well,
perfect.
So as we're talking about those guys, and we mentioned Jordan Wicks too, I mean, whether the Cubs are back or not, that series in Milwaukee, I feel like was huge. I'm curious your guys' thoughts on it too, but like to get 2 out of 3 against them in their home park, I mean, the cheers, especially on Sunday that you got for Cubs was pretty crazy, about as loud as I feel like I've ever heard on TV watching some of these games in Milwaukee. But like after the Brewers swept the Cubs last series, in at Wrigley, and then to go in knowing you're facing Jacob Mizorowski, Kyle Harrison, and Brandon Woodruff. All 3 guys. Woodruff had only made, I think, 1 start comeback from the IL, but he struck out 10 guys in it. Like, to know that you have a severe pitching disadvantage, because who knew who was even really starting these games? Like, it was who started Friday? Was it Colin Ray, right? So it was like going into the series, Colin Ray was the only guy you knew, and you figured David Peterson would probably start Saturday, but he was getting his life in order. So when the series ended in New York, you weren't 100% sure who was starting. And then Sunday they went with like Rollison in a bullpen game and ended up winning in extra innings. But Kyle, I'll start with you on this. Like, how big was that series in Milwaukee to get that series victory? And then just specifically, how big was that double play in the 10th inning? Was that like the moment of the year so far for the Cubs?
I think that was. I was trying to think back in Craig Counsell's tenure and for series wins in general, and see if there was a series win that just had more. I don't know if it was like a more
juice.
Juice. Yeah, that's a good a good phrase for it. And just look at the pitching matchup: Colin Ray versus Mizorowski, David Peterson, first start with the Cubs against Kyle Harrison, the bullpen of AAA versus of Brandon Woodruff. And the fact that they came out with a series win is I think going in, if I would have told you the Cubs aren't going to get swept, that they would somehow win one of the 3 games, we would all be like, yeah, I'll take that, instead of looking behind what's behind door number 2. So in general, I think that series win in my mind was one of the best series wins under Counsell. And yeah, like that double play, Wicks coming in with the bases loaded, no outs. I think it was it 4-2 or 4-3 when he came in?
4-2 when he came in.
So 4-2 when he came in. And how did he give up a run? I forgot.
Walked it in, I think.
Did he walk in a run?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'll double check while you keep talking.
But either way, he gets whoever was hitting, I think it was Jake Bauers. He gets Bauers to fly out to short left in foul territory, and then just getting the double play on Gary Sanchez there. And I know we were joking about it in the group chat that they didn't show any emotion, but they showed that wide shot of the dugout and Council specifically, like you could tell how much it meant to them. They were fucking juiced after that
So-
double
They
play.
were.
So
Like,
on that,
it was a big win.
I was just sorry. Council was asked Monday before the game, like, why were you jacked up? Was it because you beat the Brewers? Is it because it was it's a big division series? And Council's answer was, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was like, we won a game where we started a guy who was put on the waiver wire earlier in the week, and he didn't, like, he said started, but he meant like he was talking about Bryse Wilson, like, right, like a guy who was like a bulk guy who was literally picked off the scrap heap, and they won that game, right? Like, if you said, hey, if you said at the beginning of the week, you're going into your point, Kyle, if you're going into the finale against Milwaukee in a bullpen game with a guy that's not even on your roster yet pitching, you probably say, man, I hope we don't suffer any injuries, and I hope that guy eats innings. Well, if you come out and then you say you win that game to win the series, I mean, that, to your point, you got to be super pumped up about that.
And like looking at and how Wilson pitched, like, yeah, obviously we can talk about if the league gonna figure him out. He obviously was picked up off waivers this week. But 4 1/3, 4 hits, 4 Ks, no walks. No walks is a massive thing.
Huge.
Yeah, and it was like you literally couldn't ask for more out of him. It was like the perfect outing. And yeah, as the game went along, like I know the Brewers got one. I think Gary Sanchez hit a homer in the second off Rolison, but they stayed in it. Bryse Wilson kept him in it. They plucked away, and it was just like, I mean, that in extras, the Seiya 2-run single was just like, fuck, it was massive. So overall, I mean, it's just one of those wins, especially with the lack of success the Cubs have had against the Brewers, and then more specifically in Milwaukee. Like, I don't know how I think the reaction from Council and the Cubs bench overall was very warranted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
I think it was. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I feel like the last two times that the Cubs went to. Sorry, I feel like the last two times the last two seasons that the Cubs have gone to Milwaukee, whenever they've had a chance to like make a statement, it's been a dud, right? Like, I think of last year. I think it was right before the trade deadline where it was like
they're up 3-0.
They're up 3-0. The Brewers are like they had, I think they were just that was the game where they were starting their run, right, where they won like 20 whatever games in a row or whatever it was. And he was like, okay, here's a chance to make a statement and get back in the division, go into the trade deadline where, right, remember the talk around the trade deadline was like, oh, Joe Ryan, Mackenzie Gore, like there was all this momentum going, and then they fell flat on their face, and then obviously they still made the wild card, but it was just like a kind of a downhill from there in terms of the division. This is the first time where they've gone into Milwaukee with like any sort of like, well, what can happen, and they just, if you're handing out grades, like they had an A+ even though they didn't sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, that's a good point too, Andy, that like it feels like it's been a while since they had a good series like that in Milwaukee. But I think it just, that reaction from Council and them, like Council was as emotive during that series as I feel like I've ever seen him during a series. There was, forget if it was the Colin Ray game or something, the cameras caught him. I think it was the Apple game on Friday. Maybe the cameras caught him and like he was frustrated and pissed off at himself that he didn't take a pitcher out and like earlier, right? And like he reacted in the dugout with like a sense of frustration at himself, it seemed like. And you don't see that often. And then you see that like explosion from him and the coaching staff when they get the double play, which was admittedly like a huge moment. Like, the no cheering in the press box thing, but I was at home watching and I was like, whoa, like I almost like couldn't believe it, because that is exactly what you draw it up. You're like, sure, yeah. I was like, my daughter's like, what happened? And I was like, I could explain
It's a fucking double play.
Is. Yeah. but I was just like, whoa, like that was kind of crazy. And like I couldn't believe they ended up winning it. And even going back to the top of the 10th, like you were talking about, Kyle, like Dansby comes up with a runner on third and strikes out in a pretty terrible at bat. And Dansby had such a huge series in New York, and I think he still leads the team in RBI. But like right now, I think if there's anybody to come up with a runner on third in less than 2 outs, Dansby's probably the last guy that I want up right now that you would want up if you're like a Cubs fan. It showed it there, but then they end up, like drawing, getting the bases loaded. Michael Busch draws the walk. Seiya comes up. And JD, which was hilarious on the broadcast, was like, you should challenge, because it was like the 3-1 pitch or something, or 3-0 pitch. Wasn't a strike. Seiya doesn't challenge because he never challenges. And then like the next pitch, he lines in a left for a 2-run single. And you had to feel at that point, like, if you have the Sarah Langs like win projection, right? The Cubs had to be extremely high. I don't know exactly what it was. And then sure enough, Ethan Roberts doesn't get an out. And then it's like, who's left in the pen? Jordan Wicks is the last guy in the cupboard. Like, oh my God. And still like they pull it out. It was honestly, it was crazy. It was one of the crazier wins I feel like I've seen from the Cubs, and given all the things at stake and to come out of that. I mean, I almost felt like to come out of that series against Milwaukee, they're only 5.5 games back. I was like, that actually feels like palpable for like the first time
Great word.
in a while, in over a month, that it feels like, yes, Andy, I agree with you. I think the Cubs are still chasing the wild card, but like there's a little bit of a voice in the back of my head that was like, hey, don't count these guys out for the division right now.
There's so much baseball.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much baseball. So, I mean, it's crazy to think how big that game was. And I think Jesse Rogers tweeted before the game, like, how much of a swing game it was. And I replied joking. I was like, June 28th, a must-win game. I fucking love it. But, like, in a sense, it's like he's not wrong. Like, 5.5 compared to 7.5. I don't know. I don't mean we could debate which two pairs of numbers feels like the biggest swing, but like 5.5 to 7.5 might be the answer, because it's 5.5. You're like, okay, yeah, it's like, a good week, and we're right back in, and we're 7. It's like, shit, man, we're 7 games back. So that's it. Just shows how big that win on Sunday really was.
And even to take it a step further, right, that the Brewers have played, I think it's 3 fewer games than the Cubs. So like, if you lose that in your 7.5, and then you just assume that they win those 3. Now it's 9 games, and you've lost 2 series to them. So like now you're looking at even the tiebreakers a little, like getting a little hairy. So like now it really gets dicey. Whereas now it's 5.5, and yes, if they win those 3, it's 7, and 7's kind of still like a little bit of a daunting number. But you still have the tiebreakers, and then you have that coming. I think at the start of September they play the Brewers like 7 times in 10 games. So it's like the opportunity, the avenue to try and make a rally or a comeback in the division is right there. Even though that I agree. Like if I'm giving betting advice, I'm probably saying don't bet on the Cubs to win the division. But like I don't think it's totally impossible like it was even last year around the trade deadline when the Brewers went on that run.
You're right. So that's August 31st through September. Don't you mute yourself when we're talking? I think it's getting the echo off you. You hear that, Andy?
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah.
Sorry, Tone. So August 31st through September 9th. Yeah, you're right. The Cubs played the Brewers 7 times in that 10-day stretch there. 4 at Wrigley and then 3 at American Family Field. That's just like a massive stretch. So it goes like you need all these games. Go ahead, Tone.
I'm out of mute jail. I don't know what is going on with Riverside. I got these headphones in, like, and there's still an echo. Whatever.
Yeah, but your back is so cool.
It does. Thank you. Yeah, it's an old, like one of those old Bulls, like Cityscape, whatever their the NBA version of the City Connect are.
I do like that.
Cityscape.
Cityscape.
I don't know what Cityscape is. Yeah, City Connect. I forgot what I was gonna say now too, because I had to mute myself, and I muted my thoughts at the same time. Not your fault. I kind of had like a click remote of myself. I muted here, and then I muted my thoughts, and I didn't know where I was going with it. All right, I'll just move on to the next topic.
Well, I have one Dansby stat real quick.
Go ahead.
So since his the second game of the doubleheader, what did he have? 11 RBIs in those 2 games, or last Wednesday. He's 2 for 20. Obviously 2 hits, 35% strikeout rate, no RBIs, and that's a 100 batting average. So he's back.
Well, I also love that all those Norwegian soccer fans were in, like, if they've never watched baseball, they're going to go back to Norway and be like, man, the best baseball player ever is Dansby Swanson. Like, they're 100% going to think like this Dansby Swanson guy is freaking
Jesus Christ,
elite. Michael Jordan. Yeah.
Well, and because nobody else in the world has the name Dansby, so like you're going to remember, if you've never heard of this guy or even watched American sports, you're going to be like, Dansby, that's an interesting name. And then you're going to go back to your country thinking that anyways. And then you see him outscore the Mets single-handedly in a 4-game series. And you're like, yeah, this guy is Babe Ruth of 2026 baseball.
Do you know Dansby's his real name?
No, I don't.
It's his middle name. Do you know what his first name actually is?
I don't know. Kurt?
No. James. Jimmy.
James like Dansby Swanson?
Yeah, I feel like I remember that.
Yeah.
I think you pointed that out to me before, Kyle.
Jimmy Swanson.
Quick aside, why does anybody name? I feel like it's so common for guys, especially, to go by their middle name. Why is that not their first name? Do they just choose to go by it?
This is a very random one, but I was looking him up the other day. Corey Patterson. His first name isn't Corey.
No.
Hopefully he wasn't that guy rocked, Andy.
He was not. No.
That'd be kind of cool. Fuck, I should have saved that and just said that one of the clues, but his first name is Donald. Donald Pettis.
Donald Corey
Donald
Pettis.
Yeah.
Corey is his middle name though?
Yeah. It's his middle name.
Weird.
I
Really
know.
weird.
We should do we should combine or compile a list of just guys, Cubs or not, who go by their middle name and just marvel at what their actual first name is. I feel like the perception of Dansby changes so much if his name was Jimmy. If we called him
It
Jimmy,
would be.
like
Jim
Jimmy
Swanson,
Yeah. Jim Swanson definitely is a shortstop that hits 170, but is a good with the glove. Dansby, you're supposed to hit at least like 230.
Mike Stan's a nice baseball player, but Giancarlo, oh my gosh, Giancarlo
That's
Stanton
true.
is a stud.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dansby is a first overall pick. Jim Swanson isn't even a first round pick.
No.
He's a steal you get in the fourth, in the fifth or sixth round.
Jim Swanson works for an HVAC company.
I remember, so like you guys remember this, our old boss at Marquee, Jake Flanagan. His first name is Robert. He goes by Jake. And when when Scotty and Jake and I were working at NBC together, there's another guy in our department named Jake, who that was his middle name and his first name was Robert. So we had two guys named Jake F. That I forget what the other Jake's last name was, Feldman or something. And so it was like Jake F. But their real first name was Robert and Jake was their middle name. They went by Jake.
Crazy.
It's really weird. I don't know why that works, but whatever. I mean, I also named my kids' middle names. Had some fun with it too. So maybe we'll just call them Chaos and Mayhem.
What if they just went by their middle names? That would be pretty sweet.
That's kind of my hope.
Yeah, that'd be very funny.
Yeah. All right, so we talk about like the Babe Ruth of baseball and Dansby Swanson. It's not Alex Bregman, I'll say that much. That's maybe a little loaded, but I keep looking at the lineup every day, and I'm like, I don't care about lineup construction so much. I find it really interesting just as like a baseball fan, and I love thinking along with managers about like why they construct things in a certain way. But nowadays, when like the lineup isn't consistent ever, I don't think it really matters that much, right? And they found over the course of the season, looking at analytics, it matters a game or two here or there, really, how you construct your lineup. But the most important position in the lineup isn't third or fourth like we thought about in the 90s or 2000s growing up. It's second. And yet Alex Bregman is hitting second. And I have a couple stats for you guys. One, do you know who leads baseball in most outs this season?
I have a
very trick question.
Alex Bregman. Yeah,
I know there was a shocker. That doesn't mean much. It basically just means he's coming up to the plate a lot, which he is. He's hitting
he's hitting second.
He's hitting second a lot, and he's hit third, and he's hitting in a lineup that turns the lineup over a ton. Even if they haven't scored a lot, they are top 3 in on base percentage and at bats and plate appearances and stuff in baseball this year. They've created as many opportunities for themselves as any lineup in baseball, which means if you're hitting 1, 2, or 3 all year, you're gonna be up there in terms of just plate appearances. And even though he has a solid 330-ish on base percentage, 339 on base percentage, you're still gonna make a bunch of outs. Here's stat number 2. Who on the Cubs roster right now has a worse slugging percentage than Alex Bregman?
Is it qualified at bats?
I actually have it pulled up, so I don't want to. I know the answer, so I don't want to.
It is not qualified at bats, but there is one active player, and there are 3 inactive players who have a worse slugging percentage than Alex Bregman.
Is it like Kevin Alcantara?
It is Kevin Alcantara. He have one hit in 9 at bats. One single in 9 at bats is the only guy on the active roster with a worse slugging percentage than Alex Bregman, who has a 337 slugging percentage. As we talk about with Dansby Swanson, who is hitting below 200 still, has a 368 slugging percentage. Nico Horner, the guy that everybody has criticized in the past, for not having enough power, by the way, has a 342 slugging percentage and only 2 fewer homers than Alex Bregman. He has 4, Bregman has 6. And Nico has 9 more RBI, 36, than Bregman, 27. These aren't I know all the numbers that show a player's worth and value, but offensively, I don't know how. I don't know why Bregman is still hitting second, right? And I feel like the way Seiya has been hitting and he's come up in big spots, you can kind of not argue to move Seiya up to 2. And you don't want to go PCA Bush or PCA Hap or whatever. So I sort of get it from that regard. It's not like Nico's been lighting it on fire, but I don't know. Do you guys feel the same way? Am I just like overblowing this? That when I look every lineup and I'm like, why is one of their worst hitters this year statistically across a lot of different categories? Why is he hitting in the most prime position in the lineup every day?
So my thinking is like you're not gonna pinch hit for Babe Ruth because he struck out in the second inning. Is kind of like what I think of it. Like right, like you think you go based off the back of the baseball card. So like you think that Alex Bregman's gonna get back to who he is, but at a certain point, right, you reach the point where it's like the numbers are telling you what he is this season, and
Yes.
yes, the turnaround can happen, and who knows, maybe it starts tonight or it starts this week, and he gets back to being Alex Bregman of old, and then you get him back into the second. You want him in that second spot in the lineup. But right now, if you're basing it off like who are the best hitters in the Cubs lineup, like Alex Bregman should be hitting like eighth, right? Like just on like seventh, eighth, like just based on merit, right? Like if your whole thinking is like you want to get your best hitters the most at bats, well, over the course of the week, the 2-hole hitter compared to like the 4-hole hitter is going to have like, I think it's like I think the math says like it's like 6 to 7 extra plate appearances in a week. Why wouldn't you want right now, say Suzuki having those extra bats? Why wouldn't you want Ian Happ? And I know some of it too is like you don't want to stack the lefty, right? You don't want to go PCA Michael Busch. That's fine. I get that too. But like, why not break? Why Ian Happ's having a really good year, is slugging, is having a solid year offensively, where you would want him to have those extra 7 at bats, right? Like that's the way I always think of it. Is like over the course of the week, if you can give someone 7 extra at bats, 7 extra plate appearances, which guy do you want to have those 7 extra plate appearances? And there hasn't been a week this season where I'm like, oh yeah, Alex Bregman deserves 7 more plate appearances than this guy, or this guy in the lineup. And I think that's and again, it could change, and it could be like by the end of the season, you're like, Alex Bregman's a clear number 2 hitter, but like right now, I just don't understand how like he continues to hit second when like there are other guys who are performing better offensively that should be meriting and warrant to have those extra 7 at bats, 7 extra plate appearances a week.
Tone, how would you construct the lineup then?
I mean, it's a good question. I do think that like we've seen a little bit of it the last week or so, right? Where Matt Shaw was in there a bunch, hitting second. I think that was against lefties particularly. There might have been one day against a righty he hit second. But like Michael Conforto hit second a couple times in there too. It's not necessarily just hitting second. It's like Bregman is always second or third. And I just to exactly what you said, Andy, like I don't know how you just continue to roll it out there and like this guy hitting, second or third all year is on pace for 160 games, 11 homers, and 51 RBI this year. Like that's it. And again, I know those are just counting stats and it doesn't show the whole picture of what anybody is offensively, but like that's not in a lineup that is arguably top 5 in baseball. You can't have a guy in your prime spot like barely cross the 10 homer threshold and 50 RBI threshold. Like you need more production and you need more power. You need more. If he was posting a 383 on base percentage or something, like fine, I would understand it a bit more even. But he's not, and it's just I was actually looking up when I saw how many outs he had. I was trying to find who has the most pop outs in baseball because anecdotally, I feel like it's Alex Bregman. Like it's like a pop out every game. What'd you say, Kyle?
I'll find that for you real quick here.
All right, thank you. Yes, I don't know for sure. Like I haven't watched enough of every other hitter in baseball to know, but it's kind of crazy, and it's like there's the other element too, where like I coach a men's league team, like that's not anything special, but I've had a conversation with the guys of like, do we drop somebody down in the order so they feel better about themselves, so they can kind of get back to themselves? And I've had that thought for the last couple of weeks looking at Bregman is like maybe if he hits 7, he'll get a few more fastballs and he parks a couple balls and puts in the left field bleachers, and suddenly he feels a little bit sexier at the plate and a little bit better about himself. And then all of a sudden you put him back up to 2 or 3 and he's more like the Alex Bregman of old. Like for a guy who's admitted that he's putting a lot of pressure on himself and wearing a lot of the offensive struggles when they had a 30-day stretch of offensive struggles, to me, I don't know. I feel like I would just have done that and tried that for a little bit and seen what happens, and they haven't, which is a little interesting. I'm kind of fascinated why they haven't. But Andy, as you know, like asking those like specific lineup questions are never
You're never
received
gonna.
well. So like, never going to get a good answer, like asking Craig or anybody else in the Cubs organization about it. But I'm fascinated watching the lineup construct on a daily basis. I don't know how I would do it better though.
What? Two things. One, Bregman is third in baseball with pop-ups behind Cedric Mullins and Isaac Paredes. Second,
life.
actually, Wow, Nico is tied for 6th. That's crazy. I wouldn't have
Oh
thought
wow.
that. I always think it's, and you can, you know, debunk this, but he's hitting second. He obviously is pitcher or opposing know how to pitch Bregman. Why do you think he would see more fastballs when he's hitting 7th instead of teams attacking him the same way they've been attacking him with a lot of off speed?
You're right. That's an old school way of thinking because like Dansby doesn't see a ton of fastballs hitting 9. I think there's maybe just the point that I made or that I'm thinking is like it would just take a bit of pressure off him and just allow
Uh-huh.
him to like maybe get back to himself without feeling like the weight of the whole lineup on him. Because
Uh-huh.
wherever he's hit this year, every single start he's had, the weight of the lineup has been on him. And you're right, Andy, that there's the back of the baseball card thing, but like maybe the weight of the lineup doesn't have to be on his shoulders. Like right now it's on PCA and Seiya and like Bush will come back around and has had some big hits and Nico come back around. Like maybe you just move Bregman down and I don't know, put Nico up there or something for right now because he's had a lot of good plate appearances lately. Like you just do that for like a week and just see what happens. And exactly to your point, Andy, is like I just don't know how you continue to justify giving a guy who has been one of your worst hitters statistically the second most plate appearances in your lineup or third most plate appearances every single game on a daily basis. Like at some point, I feel like you just kind of have to try something new for him specifically because you need him. You can't continue to feel like you're going to sustain this offense when Alex Bregman is not performing like Alex Bregman is capable of.
Right, like we always talk about, like with the length of a lineup, and like you look at the 7, 8, 9 hitters, and if they're performing well, like the Cubs were at the beginning of the season, then the lineup looks deeper. But like if you have the it sounds harsh, but like if you have the black hole and the 2 hole, like that makes it kind of easy for a pitcher, right? It makes it, especially mentally, like oh, okay, like I know how to get this guy out, and I know I can get him out. Like it makes it easier. And I just want to get back to one point you mentioned about like the counting stats for Alex Bregman, right? And how he struggled. Even the like just look at the I'm a big fan of weighted runs created plus to like kind of measure your offensive performance. Dansby Swanson Alex Bregman is third worst on the team, ahead of Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson. Dansby Swanson's 85 WRC plus, so 15 percentage points below league average. Nico Horner's 89 and Alex Bregman's 95. Like counting stats, advanced stats, like he's not like the second best hitter that you want him getting those at bats, all those extra at bats, right? Like Carson Kelly's got a 117 WRC plus, so does Michael Bush and Ian Happ. Say Suzuki 122. Like there are just other guys that you would want right now having those extra at bats, and it's just like again, you're not going to get an answer from Craig Counsell because he's just like the Cubs believe he is one of their best hitters when things are going right, and I would probably tend to agree with that, right? Like if Alex Bregman's performing like Alex Bregman, he's probably one of the top 3
Totally.
hitters on the Cubs. He hasn't done it in the 85, 80, whatever, how many games the Cubs have played. But like that's why they keep. I would think that's why they keep doing it, right? Like you want your best hitters getting the most at bats, and they believe that it is Alex Bregman. And I'm with you. Like it's kind of like you've seen a huge sample size of it. Like you like it isn't.
Yeah.
It hasn't shown out. It just hasn't shown
But
out.
they've moved PCA down. They've moved Nico down. They've moved
I don't
Dansby
understand
down
why.
last
Yeah, I agree.
year.
Like they
Bush,
moved
Seiya,
everyone,
Happ, everybody. Yeah.
and
Contract.
he's been the one that hasn't.
Dansby is the second biggest contract, and he's hit ninth most of this year.
Are you talking about Jimmy?
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy. Jimmy has the second biggest contract.
That's right. Kind of a galaxy brain thought here, but is PCA's June more impressive with the fact that Bregman is the one who's been hitting behind him the whole month?
Yeah.
Like he has no connection behind him, and he's still hitting 386 with 10 dingers. Like kind of impressive.
Yeah.
He's gonna be player of the month.
Oh yeah, you're right. Is this the most impressive June from a Cub since Sammy Sosa in 1998?
Specifically June.
Yeah. Do you remember what Sammy did in 1998 in June?
Yeah. Shut up. Don't ever insult me like that again.
He had 20 homers in June in 1998 for anybody who's not familiar. Yes. It was like the best month ever.
I don't know. Mike Fontenot had a great June in 2007. I swear he hit like 400. Maybe it was just like the last week of June. But besides that, then yeah, PCA probably has the most impressive June in the last 20 years. But yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you ever feel so inclined, Kyle, rank the June performances by Cubs.
Sammy, PCA, Mike Fontenot.
All right. That sounds good.
Maybe Brian LaHare in 2012. I bet you he was just raking for some reason.
He probably was, yeah. He was an all-star.
What year did you say with Fontenot? I'm looking it up.
I have it right here. Fontenot hit 397. He hit 397, 422, 679, 3 home. He only played in 20 games. But a 1.10, what is this? 1101 OPS. So yeah, decent. Higher average in PCA.
Yep.
People
So
forgot
he was
that.
better.
I can't. No stolen base. Oh, 2 stolen bases. This guy was a stud. People forget Tony interviewed him. Didn't right?
I
Or
did.
was it you that interviewed him?
Yeah, I
That's
talked
funny.
to him. Yeah, on the old Cubs Weekly podcast. That was
Yeah.
great.
He's a nice guy. He's a little guy.
Was he the one that was saying that he has the picture in his, because he's like a general
Yes, I was
foreman or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has like the picture of was it the Aramis walk off or something?
Yeah, which was 19 years ago yesterday.
Oh wow!
Shout out. 14 years ago. You know what's funny? You said you and Scotty became Facebook friends 14 years ago today. 14 years ago today, Anthony Rizzo hit his first homer as a Cub off J.A. Happ.
Wow.
Yeah. So how about them apples?
How about it? I think that's actually a good segue into our last segment of the show. That guy rocks.
Segue into kicking Kyle off the show.
No, I like these facts. I don't always know what to say to them. I'm just like, oh, that's cool. Like, and it is cool, but I'm also like, I don't really have anything to add to Rizzo hitting his first homer off J.A. Happ.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's no follow-up context that's needed.
Yeah, I like it. Keep them coming. All right, Andy, you're up though. We've mentioned a bunch of potential DAC guys, former Cubs, Corey Pattersons and Anthony Rizzo.
I feel like you're gonna get this one
Mike
quickly
Fontenot's.
just because of our conversations. But all right,
yeah,
my first information or trivia
Clue.
nugget, whatever you
fact,
want to call it.
clue,
fact. Yeah, fact. I guess
my first information.
My first information. Yeah, brain fart.
You had a seizure there?
Yeah, something like that. This guy was an all-star in his 4th season in the major leagues.
Was it as a Cub? He was an all-star?
He was as a Cub. Yes.
Travis Wood.
No.
Good guess.
He played 13 years in the big leagues, including on both sides of town. Who'd you guess?
Jeff Samardzija.
No.
Wait, was it Sammy Sosa?
Oh, that would be hiding in plain sight.
Yeah.
That
with all the information that Andy's handed out, his first information.
That the next piece of information is that all-star appearance was his only all-star appearance of his career. He also won another major award that year.
He won another major award that year, in the year that he was an all-star. Okay. What?
I'm like kind of trying to trick you guys. Kind of.
It sounds like it. Yeah, I could tell you're tricking us because I have no idea. Is it like within the last 30 years?
Yes.
Okay. Shit. Played on both sides of town. All right. What's your next information that you have?
He this 4th season in the major leagues, he posted a 3.3 WAR, hit 23 home runs, and had an 868 OPS.
Was that season with the Cubs?
Yes, that is still the all-star season.
And he played on both sides of town. Wait, no. So 4th
both sides of town is getting me.
I know, right? Because I want to say like Gio Soto because he was an all-star, but is it Gio Soto?
Yeah. So he had 3 seasons. He had in his first 3 seasons he had times in the majors.
Oh,
his
you
season. Yeah. That's where I was
tricking
you guys.
Rookie of the year, his 4th year.
His 4th season, yeah. Because
yeah, he played games in
05,
that was
06,
some tricky
07.
information you had, Andy.
Yeah.
Well,
it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So, because I was looking it up, in 07, he posted a 1.0 WAR in 18 games. He had 389 with 3 home runs. So he essentially played in 30 games in his first 3 seasons, and he still had enough. He hadn't accumulated enough service time that he was a rookie in 08. That was kind of crazy.
That is. I mean, how many times do guys get service time in 3 years in the big leagues, and before coming up for like a full time and still being rookie? That's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
I think like talking about Fontenot, I think you'd have to look it up. I don't know exactly when they used their or when their service time expired, but I think they were up in the big leagues for a little bit, like at least in 05 and 06, which is still, I mean, obviously it's not 3 years, but still, a couple of different years, and then you're still a rookie in that 3rd year. I always think it's crazy when Soto started 1 or 2 games that in the 07 playoffs, and then the next year he won Rookie of the Year. It's like, is he really a rookie?
Right. Like, I think, like,
I forgot he played for the White Sox too. That got me.
Yeah, I think I'll have to look it back up. Actually, I think one of my first times in Major League Clubhouse, I was covering the White Sox as an intern, and I believe Soto was the catcher for the White Sox that year. Yeah, it was in 15. But I was going to mention real quickly, like, it is kind of on that. Like, depending on how things play out, like Kevin Alcantara probably won't accrue enough service time. I know he's up right now, but like, theoretically next year, if he's with the Cubs or somewhere else, like that could be his rookie year, right? Even though he debuted in 24, had some time in 25, and then obviously he's had some time in 26. Like that could be another guy who's like a rookie in his. It would be his 4th major league season.
I'll bet him the win rookie of the year next year.
There you go. If there is next year.
Yes, if there's a next season.
2028.
Yeah. Well, we know there will be a next podcast. So continue to follow the Windy City breakdown for the rest of this Cubs season and beyond, assuming there is a lockout coming. But that'll do it for this week's episode. For Andy and Kyle, I'm Tony. Thanks as always for tuning in and watching.